and a deeply sincere welcome to Open Heart Harbor. I am so grateful that you've navigated the strong currents and made it safely to port. I am Jordan, and I've created this space as your safe harbor, a place to quiet the outside world. So I invite you to come on in, drop your burdens, and get comfortable. I invite you to take a deep, clearing breath. And as you exhale, let the exhaustion of chasing and worrying, let the busyness of life fade away. I'm here to help you to maintain space so that you can drop your spiritual anchor right here, allowing yourself this moment of stillness, a quietness that isn't just the absence of noise, but the presence of peace. This harbor is the place where boundaries meet boundlessness. And my goal is to help you to drop your personal anchor so that you can find emotional freedom. For so many of us, the journey has been exhausting because we've been trying to dock in harbors that were never meant to hold us. We look for safety in places that only leave us more stranded. We look for it at the end of a bottle, a joint. We look for it in the fury of a fist or in the heat of another body. But it's more than just the obvious vices. We look for it at the end of a scrolling screen, numbing our hearts with digital noise. We look for it in the numbers of a bank account, thinking money can buy peace. We even look for it in the judgment of others or the rigid walls of religious perfectionism, using being right as a weapon to keep us from being vulnerable. I know these false anchors well. I was raised in a household where safety was something to be guarded and control was the method to do so. My father was a police officer and a Vietnam War veteran. And so I learned early that protection often looked like a closed fist. That legacy led me into my own service. I joined the Army and deployed as an animal care technician, working alongside the military police and their working dogs. And there I experienced the front lines of trauma, not just witnessing the chaos of war, but the profound human consequence. I saw the devastating loss of a military police officer who took his own life because during his storm, there wasn't an anchor or a safe harbor for him. And so when I returned from deployment, I saw the same storm in my peers and in myself. We were all trying to fix a spiritual problem with temporary physical solutions. And that pain became my heaviest cargo. It demanded a place to be unloaded. I left the military and dedicated myself to the study of healing, earning my bachelor's and master's in social work. I spent years tending to some of our most vulnerable vessels, unhoused youth and adults, youth in the juvenile justice system, youth in need of emergency respite due to family crisis, and specialized care of high-risk youth. But even as I served, my own spirit was searching. Growing up in a Christian Baptist household, I knew of Jesus and God, but I didn't know them. And in the military, I attended every spiritual service that they offered, searching for that home feeling. After some persistent convincing by a dorm mate to try the chapel during the storm of my deployment, and with the help of some good food, music, the messages, and fellowship, I began attending the chapel regularly, and I ended up giving my life to Christ in 2009. I went all in, teaching children's church, attending Bible study, leading praise and worship, attending spiritual retreats. But as time went on, even in the midst of the music and the ministry, I felt like I was spiritually dying. That feeling drove me to explore the origins of the church, of early Christianity, of early Judaism, of ancient mythology, of Eastern spirituality, of the oldest spiritual text, of my family ancestry, everything in hopes of figuring out who I was and where I belonged. And in that search, I found my home, and my soul was able to be reborn. I realized that I am not a slave. I am not a follower. I am not a sheep. I am a co creator. And that religion isn't the end all, it's merely the beginning. And as children, we look at our parents, we look to our parents for permission and guidance. But as we get older, we learn to stand on our own feet. We become adults spiritually. It's the same thing. Spirituality is simply the transition from the childhood of religion to the adulthood of spiritual freedom. I am not at all a religious anarchist. I believe Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad and Krishna all point inward and upward. And today I don't worship a label, I practice love. I've learned that the message of the divine, the message of unconditional love and forgiveness is not a closed fist, but an open hand, boundless, gentle, and accepting. And from the rigidity of the military to the chaos of the streets, I saw one truth. The closed fist of fear, whether it's gripping a bottle or a grievance, keeps us in a state of spiritual shipwreck. I realized that my life experiences were preparing me for this moment right now, to become a harbor master of the mind for anyone ready to choose love over fear. So, why should you dock here with me? As the steward of this harbor, I am here to help you to navigate 3 essential paths. 1, healing your relationships, not just with others, but most importantly with yourself and your story. Leaning into our open hand policy, we learn how to release control and accept life experiences exactly where and as we are. We move from the combat of ego to the compassion of spirit. 2, deciphering the divine word. We deep dive into A Course in Miracles, the Bible or Aramaic Peshitta, and other ancient spiritual texts, looking past the fear-based translations and uncovering the original language of divine love, acceptance, and forgiveness. Like looking at the Aramaic roots of the word sin to see that it actually means missing the mark, an invitation to try again, not a permanent stain on your soul. And 3, finding your structure. Everyone needs a spiritual anchor. I help you to build the compassionate boundaries and filters, your unique structure that allow you to safely engage the flow of life without being overwhelmed or drained. It's about being in the world, but not of it. Moving with the current rather than being swept away by it. We anchor this work in a consistent weekly rhythm. Midweek deep dives, and these are our spiritual explorations. We pull up a chair to dissect sacred text and the mechanics of the mind, making the complex simple and the ancient accessible. And then our Sunday guided meditations, our weekly rhythm to gather in the stillness, to dock our cargo and breathe together in the sanctuary of the present moment. So if you're tired of searching for safety in places that leave you stranded, if you're ready to trade your closed fist for an open hand, I invite you to join our community in the harbor by subscribing and sharing the light. May the disciplines of faith, wisdom, and love ignite your divine spark today. You are a harbor of peace for all that you encounter. Stay anchored in the divine, and until next time, be still and know. I'll keep the lights on for you here at the harbor.